looks like we have the majority of folks, so there might be some that'll will jump on, but if it's okay, we'll go ahead and get started. Welcome and thank you for joining us today. For those of you that don't know me, I think everyone does, but I'm Kim Moore-Bailey, the CEO of Youth Outside, and I'm joined today by Laura Rodriguez, who is our Director of Programs.
Hi there.
As many as you know, Youth Outside works to ensure that youth who have been traditionally or historically underrepresented in the outdoor movement have the opportunity to connect with the outdoors in culturally relevant and inclusive ways. And we focus on ways to remove these barriers, both the logistical barriers like transportation or gear, and then the systemic barriers that are really connected to our dominant culture and institutions and power dynamics. For example, underrepresented youth often feel more comfortable when their outdoor experience reflects their lived experience and cultural touchstones. So we offer a number of trainings and capacity building programs here at Youth Outside that are designed to support individuals in building these skills and the confidence that they need to be leaders and educators in the outdoor field. And the Outdoor Educators Institute, or OEI for short, is one of those programs that we offer. And so we're really excited today to share some of the insights from our recent evaluation of our Outdoor Educators Institute program and talk about how these findings can help all of us to continue to work towards inclusion and equity in the outdoor and environmental field. So our goal here today is to help you become more familiar with Youth Outside's Outdoor Educator Institute as a model for advancing this work. We also want to share some of the top-level findings from our evaluation of the program that shows its positive impact on the participants and the broader outdoor and environmental fields. And we really want to have a conversation with you about what the implications of these findings have, both for the Outdoor Educators Institute and what it looks like to support these efforts moving forward. But before we get started with the meat of the webinar, I wanted to just go over a few things. We are recording this webinar, so thank you in advance for your support in doing that. We had some folks who were unable to join us today and asked if we would record it, so we are doing that. If you haven't done so already, please go ahead and place your phone or your computer on mute. There's a mute button on the bottom left-hand corner with a little microphone image that you can use. There's also a chat button in the center for all of the functions, and once you click on that, you can pull up on the right side of the screen at the bottom. It'll give you the option to chat with everyone or with just the host. So if you're having a problem hearing us, for example, please just send a quick note to the host, and who is the magical Stephanie, who will adjust that for you. And if you want to send a chat to everyone, feel free to do that as well. And then towards the end of the presentation, we will definitely invite you to unmute and share some of your comments and questions. So to get started, I want to turn the program over to Laura to tell you a little bit about OEI and the goals of the program and how it is set up.
Great. Thanks, Kim. Yeah, so at Youth Outside, we believe that it really is critical for really all folks, but traditionally underrepresented youth, to see and identify with people in the outdoor and environmental fields and programs who look like them and who come from similar backgrounds. So to make that happen, we really need to support the next generation of outdoor leaders and outdoor educators. The Outdoor Educators Institute is, like Kim said, one of those programs that aims to do that, and it's a 3-month program that is both professional and workforce development. It is for young adults that are between the ages of 18 and 24 that come from traditionally underrepresented communities. It's designed to support young adults and their continued growth to be culturally relevant and representative leaders. And OEI has 2 primary components. It focuses on providing technical outdoor skills through activities like backpacking, sea kayaking, and rock climbing, for example. And also it supports folks in furthering conversations and having the ability and maybe confidence to facilitate conversations and efforts around the need for equity, inclusion, and cultural relevancy, both in the places where they are now as well as where they might go in the future. We work with partner organizations that are in and around the Bay Area that deliver the training and the various types of training and experiences and many of them offer viable pathways to employment to OEI graduates when they've completed the program. Some of these partners include government agencies like the National Park Service, nonprofit organizations like Nature Bridge, for example, and other programs such as the Pacific Leadership Institute at San Francisco State. Originally, OEI was launched in 2012, and we have facilitated 6 cohorts since then, have graduated 78 young adults. In 2015, when we came on board as a newer team, we really made some significant changes to the program. Wanted to make it more accessible and more relevant for young people. So, for example, we went from a 10-week intensive to a 3-month evening and weekend program that would make it so folks didn't have to up and leave all of their realities at home. We also started sharing feedback with the partner organizations so that they could learn and grow from each cohort and from their experience in providing these training experiences to the Outdoor Educators Institute participants. And we started to really be more intentional in recruiting for participants of color who believe that their identity is an integral part of the outdoor experience. And we made these changes because we heard directly from both the participants, past participants, and from partner organizations. So we started by assessing how we might improve the program and made these significant changes. So in the spirit of continued growth and assessing how the program is going and the impact that it's having, this evaluation was, just another one of those efforts. So this year, 2018 season, we begin on August 18th, and for the first time, we're really excited. We're recruiting a cohort of female and or woman identifying participants. So I'm going to hand it back over to Kim.
Right, as Lauda said, we really watched the program grow and evolve. And in 2017, we decided that it was time to conduct an evaluation to look at the impact that the program was having. And we really focused on 2 particular areas. First, on a smaller scale, were we effectively developing the culturally relevant leaders who are able to meaningfully engage with underrepresented youth? That was the goal, and we really wanted to check to see if we were actually doing that. And then second, on a larger scale, could we show that this work was having a larger impact in driving change within our partner organizations, and even more importantly, creating a shift across the broader outdoor and environmental fields? So in June of 2017, we partnered with Informing Change, a firm that's done some evaluation work with us in the past, to conduct this evaluation designed to look at those particular 2 areas and to identify for us what was working and where we needed to strengthen and sustain the program, and what lessons could help to continue to drive change across the field. So to gather the information for the evaluation, Informing Change conducted surveys of our 2017 OEI cohort, both before and after the training, and there were 18 participants in that cohort. They did surveys and interviews with graduates from our recent 2015 and 2016 cohorts. They interviewed our OEI partner organizations, so nonprofits in and around the Bay Area who support program delivery. And they did a focus group with the leadership here at Youth Outside. So to unpack some of the findings, Lauda is going to talk about this and the impacts that we learned about.
So Informing Change put together a report that we're outlining, and they outlined all of the findings we're sharing with you now. And we wanted to highlight some of the top level findings for you today. We can start by looking at OEI's impact on participants. We will also look at OEI's impact on partner organizations and again, or maybe perhaps the greater field. So we'll start by looking at OEI's impact on participants. And we found that the program really had a number of positive impacts on them. And maybe not surprised, I don't imagine that we were surprised at some of these, but it was really great to solidify it through this formal evaluation process. So we did find that participants reported that it increased their connections to the outdoors. And those things, that phrase might include things like the ways that they connect, both physically with the activities they might be doing, as well as the way they connected internally. So spiritual and emotional connections with the outdoors were increased, and perhaps the regularity of connection to the outdoors. It also increased their interest in outdoor education and conservation as a career pathway, which is huge, right, as we think about the next generation of environmental stewards and leaders. And it increased their outdoor skills, again, particularly in the types of activities that they are exposed to during the program. So rock climbing, backpacking, sea kayaking, camping, these kinds of things. 3 out of 4 participants said that growing these outdoor skills really contributed to both their professional and their personal growth. As far as leadership skills that they reported were also increased, graduates said that they felt empowered to be better communicators, facilitators, and leaders, and that they were better able to engage with youth in outdoor activities. There were partner organizations such as Outward Bound California, Environmental Traveling Companions, and NatureBridge who agreed that OEI graduates do in fact have leadership skills that are needed for positions in the outdoor and the recreation fields. So overall, the evaluation showed that OEI is effectively preparing young adults from both racially and socioeconomically diverse backgrounds to work within the outdoor and education and recreation fields. And of course, it uncovered some areas for growth, which we are also excited to continue to explore and to share about here today. So the first was that we need to keep working on removing physical barriers. I recently met a graduate who shared that they still do not own the appropriate gear for the position that they are now hired in the organization that they work in. And it's, it's a small and obvious way, again, this tangible barrier, and thinking about how we might be able to support folks once they've graduated, maybe while they're in the program and afterwards, or how do we support the organization and thinking about perhaps what I might consider a low-hanging fruit, right? Which would be to provide these things to someone if they don't have them. Check in with them about whether they have it or not in the first place. And a couple of other important areas for growth that came out of the evaluation. One is the need for better opportunities to network with both outdoor organizations and with other OEI graduates. The graduates said that they relied on coworkers, existing coworkers, they relied on Youth Outside staff and peers at other outdoor organizations for professional support. But interestingly, they said that they value their OEI peers, but they do not rely on them for professional support. So that's another area for us to continue to look at. And then there's the need to improve employment pathways. Certainly we won't take that on ourselves completely, but partners did say that the main barrier to employing OEI graduates at their organizations was the types of positions that are available. We know that there's difficulty with accessibility and appropriateness for OEI graduates and for other folks. Many outdoor positions are volunteer, they're seasonal, or they're part-time, and they just really don't offer the competitive salaries or benefits that folks need in the Bay Area with its high cost of living. Partners also have very little turnover rates for their full-time positions, and some of those positions really are more administrative in nature. Not that that's a bad thing, it's just different than perhaps folks are looking for. And lastly, and perhaps not often talked about, is the field's inability to navigate hiring undocumented young adults. And we thought that was a really interesting outcome of the evaluation that we would love to further explore with the field as a whole. We also looked at OEI's impact on inclusive programming and operations, and we found some encouraging trends. So trainees said that OEI helped them expand the types of individuals and groups that they're engaging with in the outdoors. It helped them to promote equity and inclusion and justice in the workplace, which can be really difficult. And they said that OEI helped them plan or lead activities for a variety of youth in what they considered appealing and more culturally relevant ways. Most importantly, the trainees said that cultural relevancy was very important to the work that they wanted to do after graduating from the program. Over 80% of the trainees said that they intend to lead outdoor activities with low-income youth or youth of color moving forward. And all of the graduates who participated in the evaluation said they had worked with youth of color and low-income communities in the outdoors since finishing OEI. So for example, 9 out of 10 graduates said that they have worked to make an existing outdoor education or recreation program more inclusive, which is huge. And 2 out of 3 graduates have changed the way that an organization designs programs for youth, which means that the organizations are listening to their recommendations and giving them the space to recreate. And that's also a really big deal. The partner organization said that graduates were aware of the ways that culture and personal experiences really can influence a person's relationship with the outdoors, and that they were better able to connect with youth that have traditionally not had access to the outdoors. They also said that OEI has helped them successfully engage youth from diverse backgrounds and communities, both through the work with OEI, with the OEI program specifically, and also through the work of the OEI graduates and trainees once they're there with them. Partner organizations said that their participation in the program has led to better informed internal hiring practices, major, and it has led to staff that are more aware of the roles that ethnicity, culture, and the community's history and the community's access to resources plays in the outdoor experience. So those were some of the key findings from the evaluation, and they are so valuable to us. But I'm going to hand it back over to Kim to talk about the broader implications and takeaways of these findings.
Thank you, Laura. Now, as we said earlier, we wanted to use this evaluation to look at OEI's impact on 2 levels. Again, so are we effectively developing culturally relevant leaders who are able to meaningfully engage with underrepresented youth? And are we having that larger impact? Are we really driving that change within our partner organizations and more importantly beyond, shifting the broader outdoor and environmental field? And what can we do to make those shifts happen? Overall, the evaluation showed that OEI has been successful in fostering the culturally relevant young leaders in the outdoor field. Some of the most valuable program elements that are working for our trainees and graduates and should be included in future replications of this model are, the networking piece, which Lauda talked about a little bit. The opportunity to network with our partner organizations has just been really valuable for our trainees and our graduates. The weekend trainings have also really emerged as a key component of the program, and that these are better fit for our participants doing it over a weekend versus the week-long trainings that we used to facilitate. Another key piece is the leadership and soft skills training. We need to have these because they build the type of skills that partner organizations are looking for in their staff. And we are not promising that anyone coming through OEI is going to be an expert rock climber or kayaker. So really folding in the leadership and soft skills makes them a really well-rounded potential hiree. And the other piece is the partnerships. Working with partner organizations helps our participants, but it also helps the partner organizations learn more about what cultural relevancy means and looks like to them, and what does social justice mean, and how can they bring those learnings to their own programs and to their own staff. The evaluation also highlighted areas that could be strengthened and enhanced moving forward to continue to have this broader impact on the field. This whole idea about networks, how do we continue to build them? As a program, what does that mean and what does that look like? How can we build networks with both other outdoor organizations and our OEI graduates with the goal of getting our OEI principles and practices out to the broader field? We currently do offer mentorship and coaching to our OEI alumni to help them obtain employment after the program, and in the future we are exploring new ways to support our growing alumni network as it becomes more national. For example, we might be able to create online programming for learning and professional development, or explore new ways to connect alumni to other networking opportunities that are not necessarily coming from youth outside. The OEI program manager has also been a really valuable ongoing resource and mentor for our graduates, again, in helping them identify those employment opportunities. Sometimes it's sitting down and helping to create a high impact resume, acting as a reference, sort of facilitating potential resources for trainings and certifications. But it's really hard. This is one person to sustain this role. So as the peer networks can grow, this can also help fill this role. We also want to look at exploring new ways to improve pathways to employment. You know, as Laura described, the available jobs for our graduates are often seasonal or part-time and or lower in salary, and are not possible for those who do not have access to other financial support or cushions. So as a program, can we look for ways to better facilitate employer-graduate matching? But we know that this is a challenge and goes way beyond Youth Outside, and will really take a broader effort to address this sort of current dynamic in our field. We also need to develop innovative employment structures that meet the needs of young leaders from all communities, and explore ways that we can motivate our partners to adapt their practices to better attract and retain talent, such as offering gear perhaps to a new employee who may not have a closet full of the gear needed to do their work well. And this too is a bigger effort that will need resources and encouragement from many different sectors, including funders, to really make a difference here. When we think about providing resources to the field, we need to continue to explore ways to provide ongoing assistance to outdoor organizations who are seeking resources to sustain inclusive programming, staffing, and outreach to members of low-income communities and communities of color. This list of resources could include things like guidance, referral resources, capacity building, access to different networks, etc. And OEI could provide some, but it's also a bigger conversation that needs to include a wide range of players. We also want to find ways to increase financial support for OEI to help replicate the program in other areas of the state or the country. We heard some of the components that it would take for replication. We'd love to be able to test that model. So now we would like to turn it over to you to get your thoughts and any questions that you might have on the evaluation and its implication. Feel free to unmute and ask any questions that you might have. And you know, I know there's a lot of really smart, committed folks on the webinar with us, and so this doesn't have to be questions from you to us. I would invite anyone to chime in if they've got some thoughts and ideas based on what we hear. Any questions?
This is Luis with Latino Outdoors.
Hi there.
Hi, Luis.
Hi, how are you? Kim,
Well,
Laura?
how are you?
Good. I have a question. You mentioned that you changed, one of the changes you made to the OEI was going from 10-week intensive to 3 months. So when you said that, I was wondering if you noticed a change in the characteristics of the cohorts post that change. Like when it was 10 weeks intensive, were you getting more of, you know, a certain type of group versus, you know, post change?
Mm-hmm.
I would say it, demographically speaking, it was a big shift because OEI was always, when it was in its original sort of envisioning, was envisioned to recruit individuals, again, from underrepresented communities, so people of color, socioeconomic backgrounds. But what was clear and what folks shared was that it was a hardship, right? And so folks were being sort of pulled away either from school or from contributing to their family's income in the household, perhaps from their children, right? All of these things, they were getting a stipend, but not until the end of the program. And so overall, the structure was really creating a variety of hardships and challenges for folks. It was still a similar demographic, but it has shifted. I think what I would say is the biggest shift is, again, in the focus. So as we recruit for individuals now, we are also asking folks through the application process to, you know, that are excited about or who connect their identity as an integral part of the outdoor experience. So there is perhaps on the spectrum of sort of awareness and readiness to have a conversation around equity and inclusion, I think that's where the biggest change in the type of participants is really where it is coming from. Good question.
And we've got a question from Kyle. He wants to know about the most successful partnership. and why is this partnership so successful?
Without calling out names, what I'll say are the characteristics of some of the most successful partnerships is the willingness to receive feedback from both, we are intentional about getting feedback from the participants after each experience. So they're not being asked to give that feedback to the partners themselves for a variety of reasons, safety among them. But they are asked to provide that feedback. And sometimes when Youth Outside staff is also there to observe and be at the outing or the experience, the feedback might also be coming directly from us as staff. And so the successful characteristics of a partnership are, again, that's probably tantamount, right? Like someone who is willing to hear, sometimes it's difficult feedback to hear, and who can hold it and think about ways to make changes or make shifts, either immediately or as they continue to be interested in partnering with us in following years. Successful partnerships are also those with individuals who can, or organizations who can hear the needs. So for example, moving into 2018, we're gonna have an all-female or woman identifying cohort. We're gonna probably be very intentional about asking that outdoor leaders that are facilitating these experiences can also be individuals that identify as such. And so again, just sort of the intentionality and the willingness to participate fully in the ways that they're hearing us say might be best for participants.
And I would also add, Kyle, that it really is a two-way street as far as feedback. So partners who have been able to be with us year over year have also been able to give us some feedback on what their experience was with us, and ways in which that we can continue to improve the program in and of itself. So we moved into an RFP process at one point based on some feedback, inviting organizations to submit to us their desire to want to work with us, and to start to articulate the why, so that we can really line up a great team of partners that are committed to the overall goal and mission of OEI, and are willing to work with us and give us feedback if we happen to fall short in one of those particular areas.
Yeah, I see a follow-up to that original question around the partnerships, and that is what other kinds of activities in addition to trips perhaps were organizations providing? What kinds of experiences or opportunities? We work with organizations who also provide OEI participants with an opportunity to practice their implementation of curriculum. So sometimes there might be youth involved in the experience, but so it's not all sort of the technical outdoor skills. There is also partner organizations that really support participants in looking at and thinking about what it looks like. So the youth development aspect of it really, and having opportunities to really engage in that way. Thanks for those. Any other questions? No other questions?
Laura Vollmer, do you have a question for us?
If you're talking, we can't hear you.
No.
Here, I'll ask a question. It's Lois.
Hi, Lois.
Hi. Thanks for today and presenting all your findings. And clearly OEI is still fairly young, and it takes a long time to build relationships, a reputation, your alumni base. I'm just wondering what you're hoping to, how you're hoping to use this to, like, what do you hope the next 5-10 years will look like?
Wow. Well, I know that there is a vision for us to think about replication. Right now, we only have the capacity to facilitate one cohort a season. And we would love to start to think about what would it look like to actually begin to facilitate upwards of 2 per season, and how to customize the program delivery, perhaps based on geographical location or region, so that the weekend experiences really do reflect outdoor experiences that are relevant to that particular place. And so that will require us to continue to network and to build out the reputation of the OEI program. Our alumni are now hired with organizations across the country, and that is also a great starting point. We would love to be able to have that pool be seen as sort of a go-to resource for other hiring opportunities, especially those rare full-time benefit opportunities that don't emerge quite frequently. So I'd say those are sort of, for me, off the top of my head, thinking about 5 to 10 years from now, how is this, how can OEI be sort of the standard, or not the exception, but the rule, especially in larger metropolitan areas where there's an enthusiasm for outdoor and environmental programming? How can a training like OEI be sort of the incubation place to begin to recruit those individuals who historically have not either grew up or have that outdoor resume to step into these roles? How can we create an opportunity to give them those opportunities and still honor and respect who they are and make them viable candidates for employment down the road?
Yeah, I would add quickly to that sort of vision for the future that the OEI graduates themselves are really at a higher volume, because some of them already are. Really the voices championing these conversations that Youth Outside is having, that other folks are having. So, making that that conversation about the necessary shifts in employment structures a much broader national conversation that is regularly a part of the platform. OEI graduates regularly participate in conferences, or they find themselves, speaking at, for example, the PGM1 conference, or other spaces where they're really being provided a platform and for their voice to be heard, and for them to be seen as champions for a variety of issues, equity, inclusion, and perhaps this employment pathways and structures. So I really would love for the future of OEI to be, again, in increasing folks' confidence to continue to share their voice in that leadership way. So not just directly providing services to young people in the outdoors, which is the origin and the vision of this program, and how people are being prepared and what they're being prepared for, but also to really take the lead on these opportunities to speak on these national conversations.
Hi, Lauda. This is Alex Hooker. I just kind of building on that. I'm a millennial, and I oftentimes feel like older people are telling me what I need and what I should be doing. As we all get older and young adults continue to stay the same age, are you finding opportunities to learn from them on what is relevant for this work and what is meaningful to be outdoors? Like, is there like an opportunity to learn from them to reinforce what you're teaching in the OEI?
Yeah, thank you for that question. It's a really great one. So as a part of the program, throughout the 3 months, we don't just work with the partner organizations to do the training. We come together. The participants come together during the week to really connect with each other, to share and learn about what's going on. But really, again, that key component of identity, this idea of identity, which is a moving target as generations move on up. And yeah, exactly, as generations define it. So the OEI program is very much about hearing from the participants, what is their reality, what is going on for them, what does identity mean to them, and how does that intersection of the outdoors and their identity interplay. And so every cohort, there will be different things that come up. So we do, and then at the end of every experience, they're not only providing feedback about the partners, but they're also providing feedback to Youth Outside about that session. So we're regularly working to hear from them how things might shift, and thinking about new ways. So if you have ideas, let us know. Anything else? Anything else in writing?
We're looking over at those that have their computers open for us.
I don't know if anybody else has questions. This is Luis Villa again. So I guess sort of following up on this last question, it made me think of how you mentioned there are 6 cohorts to date and that the participants are 18 to 24 years old. So the participants from the first cohort, at least some of them, could be nearing their 30s at this point. So I don't know that it's a question that I have. I think it's just an observation. It would be interesting to follow them as they approach their 30s to see where their careers take them, because at 30 you start to generally, a person's career really starts to blossom. So it would be good to track that.
Yeah, we agree. And certainly over the course of the years, we've attempted to reach out to the participants of those earlier cohorts, and maybe because it's a whole, they don't know us, right? Like
Right.
the people that they engaged with during their cohort are completely different people who are gone now. And many, maybe we didn't inherit their contact information. So it's been a little hard. Maybe when we have an OEI alumni event, which is maybe a couple a year, we have very little turnout from participants who were a part of a cohort that was not managed right by the current program manager, Rena Payan. So we're definitely struggling with connecting with them.
But they do find us at the PGM1 conference. I was approached by someone who thanked me and shared that he was a part of the first OEI cohort and understood that while I wasn't there, it was that very experience that allowed him, now as an adult, it made me feel a little old, that he was working, and I don't even remember where, but full-time with Knowles, actually, and he just made a point to find me and to thank me for that experience. So they're out there, and as we continue to get our own message and to be present in these spaces, hopefully we will re-engage with them through different ways.
Thank you.
Thank you, Luis.
Thanks, Luis. Great. So if there are no more questions, thank you so much, first of all, for the conversation. And we are really excited about continuing the work of this program to develop the leaders from these underrepresented communities in the outdoor and environmental fields, and the opportunities that this program provides for driving broader cultural shifts around equity and inclusion in this field. Our team will be in touch. We will definitely, we can share the recording of this webinar and the link as to the full evaluation, and we would invite and welcome you to share it with your community and your networks if you think it would be a helpful resource for really working towards this greater relevancy and inclusion in the outdoor and environmental programs. For those of you that are supporting our program, we thank you from the bottom of your hearts for continuing to support our Outdoor Educators Institute, and we look forward to updating and checking in against our evaluation and the findings, and thank you again for participating today.